Plus, hospitals and nurses at odds over a bill that would end mandatory overtime.
From Studio B at NBC4 in Columbus, Ohio, this is NBC4's The Spectrum with Colleen Marshall.
Would it surprise you to learn the third leading cause of death in this country is preventable medical errors? That's what a 2016 study from Johns Hopkins concluded. The Ohio House is now considering a bill with 5 sponsors aimed at reducing medical errors at hospitals. The bipartisan bill would prohibit nurses from being forced to work overtime. Nurses and hospitals are at odds, though, over whether the bill is needed and if it could impact your medical outcome.
So as an employee, when you're told to do something by your employer, if you don't do it, you're either insubordinate or there could be license infractions if they're turned into the Board of Nursing.
It was introduced as being a solution to a problem whereby a nurse may be terminated if he or she refused to stay after a shift that they've already worked when only informed that day. We're not aware of any such circumstances.
Nurses say, though, there is an implied threat of disciplinary action. Hospitals say they must have the flexibility to staff up.
We don't know how many patients will arrive in the emergency department within the next hour. We might have some historical data that guides us, but we don't know if it will be 3 patients or 30 patients.
Nurses routinely work 12-hour shifts, say 7 at night until 7 in the morning. Mandatory overtime adds 4 hours.
So it not only affects the shift where they're working long hours, but they're coming back exhausted for their shift that follows, and oftentimes being asked to stay overtime again.
Should patients be worried?
Absolutely.
Cincinnati nurse Beth Jasper fell asleep at the wheel, crashed, and died after working several 16-hour days in a row.
In fact, during her last shift, she had a conversation on the phone with her husband and told him they're working me to death.
We share the concern for preventing any type of fatigue of healthcare worker.
But hospitals say outlawing mandatory overtime is not the answer. They don't want to work nurses to exhaustion, but they have to adequately staff specialized areas like obstetrics and mental health. Both sides say their top priority is patient safety, and patients know when nurses are overworked.
I think, wait a second. You got here at 7 in the morning, it's 10 at night, you're still here, when do you get to go home? I've had patients ask me that as a nurse several times, and it's uncomfortable to answer.
There are 200,000 registered nurses here in Ohio. The bill would not prevent them from accepting overtime, but it would give them the right to self-assess and refuse overtime if they believe they are too exhausted to safely care for patients.